Welcome to the first episode of Riichi Mahjong Guide. In this episode, we're going to be going over the different types of tiles that are used to play Mahjong. You may recognize these tiles if you've played Mahjong Solitaire. There are 34 different tiles that are used in Riichi Mahjong, and I know that sounds a little bit intimidating, but don't worry, 27 of them are just numbered tiles of 3 different suits, 1 through 9. So we're going to start with the easiest one here. This is the first suit of tiles. In English, they're called the circles, but in Japanese, they're pinzu, like bowling pins, sake reference there. But like I said, these are just numbered 1 through 9, and they're very easy to read. You just count the number of circles or dots on each tile, going from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Very simple. The next suit. In English, these are called bamboo. In Japanese, the term is sozu. These are also another just suit of tiles 1 through 9. It's a little bit different than the pinzu tiles, which are a little bit easier to read. But it still goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 8 looks a little bit weird because some of the bamboo are conjoined. So it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 on the bottom as well in the opposite pattern. And the one-so, or the one of bamboo, that's usually a picture of a peacock. This is the standard picture for Japanese tile sets. So again, not that much more difficult to read, but the next suit of tiles you might have a little bit of trouble with. These are the character tiles, or the manzu tiles. The character on the bottom is the same through all of them. That's just the character for Mon, or 10,000. The characters on the top, these are just the numbers 1 through 9. If you know Chinese or Japanese, you'll recognize them easily as the kanji for the numbers 1 through 9. But if not, you kind of have to get used to them. Depending on what types of tiles you have, or if you're playing Mahjong on an app or a video game, they'll usually give you an option to have the Arabic number for each of these tiles as well, so you don't get confused. But on most sets in real life, they won't have that, so you kind of just have to memorize it, or at least have a cheat sheet handy. Again, this is just numbers 1 through 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 through 3 are pretty easy to understand, but the rest, you've kind of just got to memorize it. There are plenty of tricks that you can use to memorize the kanji for 1 through 9 that you can find online. And the 5 here is a little bit more ornate than the kanji for 5 in Japanese. But I promise you, as you play more Mahjong, you will get used to all these characters. And one thing I want to note here is that except in a couple of very rare fringe cases, all of these suits are essentially equal to each other. So there's no one suit that's better than another, except, like I said, in those 2 fringe cases, which we will cover much, much later because it's very likely that you won't have to deal with them at all. So these are the 3 suits of number tiles, and that accounts for 27 of the 34 tiles that are used in Japanese Mahjong. The last 7 tiles are suitless tiles. Collectively, they're known as jihai, or word tiles, and in English, we just call them honor tiles. I'm going to go through the 3 easier ones first. These are the dragon tiles. They're just colored white, green, and red. Even though 2 of them have kanji on them, you don't really have to know the kanji because of how they're colored. In most sets of Japanese Mahjong tiles, the white one will just be completely blank. And if you're using a Chinese set of tiles, it'll have just a border around the edge. So it's not just going to be blank. But it is the same tile. The Japanese names for these are Haku, Hatsu, and Chun. And just like with the 3 suits of tiles, these 3 dragon tiles are essentially equal to each other, except for one fringe case that has to do with one of the other fringe cases I talked about earlier. But again, you do not have to worry about that at all right now. The last set of tiles here are the wind tiles. These are corresponding to the compass directions: east, south, west, and north. Again, if you're playing on an app or in a video game, or if you have certain tiles, they will have the letters E, S, W, and N to denote which one is which. But if not, you kind of just have to recognize the kanji. Again, if you know Japanese or Chinese, then you'll have no problem with this. But other than that, you just kind of have to memorize it. Thankfully, unlike the character tiles, you don't have to really remember the order that they're in. You just have to know which one is which. You can't pair them with any other tiles except themselves, so you only have to see matching pairs or sets in this case. And the Japanese names for these tiles are ton, nan, sha, and pei. Unlike the dragon tiles, these tiles are not equal to each other in most circumstances. The way they're used depends on what round it is and where you're seated at the table. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but it'll make more sense when we get to that part in a later video. So again, these 7 honor tiles do not belong to any suit, and that comes into play a little bit later. So these are the 34 different types of tiles that you would see in any Mahjong game. When you're playing, there's actually 4 of each of these tiles in the game. So there's a total of 136 tiles. And the point of Mahjong is to use a combination of these tiles to make a winning hand. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. Feel free to comment if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching.